Bol Bol is finally getting an opportunity and he's thriving. After being a really hyped prospect coming out of college, his NBA career thus far has been disappointing due to a lack of opportunity alongside with other factors. But with the Orlando Magic, it finally seems that he's getting that opportunity that he truly deserved and he's playing pretty good basketball. But quickly, before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm Juicy Sports, I make opinionative NBA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. I also want to quickly mention that I recently started up an MMA channel, and if you guys are interested in that, the link will be in the description. But anyways, let's get into it. If you were to tell somebody about Bol Bol's skills without that person knowing who he was, they would think he's a superstar. The fact that a 7'2" guy is as athletic and as mobile as Bol Bol was, also having the ability to hit that 3-point jump shot at a pretty high level, could put the ball on the floor, create for himself, grab a rebound on one side of the court and quickly blow by most of the defenders, drive all the way to the basket and finish on the other end at 7'2", alongside with the fact that he can create for others at times as well, also has decent defensive skills. When you just combined all those abilities together and put them all together in one player, it kind of sounds like you're talking about a 2K My player. But the fact that this is a real player in the NBA would give anybody a ton of optimism of how his career could potentially go in the future. But unfortunately for Bol, that isn't the full story with him. Although he is extremely talented and has a bunch of different skills that you would think would translate very well to the NBA, thus far they haven't necessarily done so. I would say at the NBA level, he's a little too skinny, which certainly does affect him on the defensive side of the court, alongside with some of his offensive abilities when driving all the way to the basket. And maybe a lack of confidence could have also been in play, and alongside with a lack of opportunity, as I mentioned before, but thus far Bol's career has certainly not lived up to the expectations that most had when he was coming into college. But those are just on the court issues. Other issues that Bol has faced so far early on into his NBA career has certainly been injuries, and that's certainly something that NBA teams knew about once he was going to get drafted. That's why he fell all the way down to the second round and was picked by the Denver Nuggets. But unfortunately, those injury concerns have certainly transferred over to the NBA level. So when you combine all those factors together, that kind of explains how Bol's career hasn't necessarily gone the way he would have liked so far. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it never will, because I think this guy is extremely talented and I'm extremely excited to see what he can do in the future, but that's just kind of been the story of his career thus far. But ever since he got to the Orlando Magic, he's been getting a much bigger opportunity and he's thriving. On the year, he's averaging 11 points per game on 65% shooting from the field, 6.7 rebounds, and 0.3 assists on only 7 games played. Which of course don't sound like the best numbers, but when you consider he's only averaging 3 points on his career, this is certainly a nice improvement for him. And in specific games this season, like for example his last game against the Dallas Mavericks, he put up 16 points on a very efficient 7 for 10 shooting and 11 rebounds. And in a game against the New York Knicks on October 24th, he put up 19 points on extremely efficient 8 for 10 shooting on 5 rebounds as well. And really the reason why I'm pointing out these two specific games, because of course it's a small sample size, but the reason I'm pointing them out is because he's giving us hope on what he could potentially be in the future. And in my opinion, even though his numbers aren't necessarily the best, even thus far this season, it has been very nice to see that improvement, and honestly, I see him as a guy that plays better than his numbers would suggest. When you have a guy out there that has all the abilities that he does at that 7'2" size, maybe even 7'3", it just puts the defense on notice and they have to pay a little bit more attention on him than they normally would to a player of his status. And that kind of thing certainly helps the Orlando Magic out, the other players on the team score for themselves easier or even break down the defense and kick out to wide open shooters. But now the question is this recent stretch sustainable for Bol Bol, and will this finally be something that he can build off of going forward, or will he once again fall off as the season progresses and would need to move on to a different team? Well, in my opinion, I certainly am very encouraged based upon how he's been playing so far early on into this season, and I certainly think the Orlando Magic are a perfect team for a player like Bol Bol, because they're a young team with little to no expectations at this point, and in my opinion that's the exact situation a player like Bol needs to be in. Because if he was on a team, for example like the Denver Nuggets that he was on when he was drafted, a team that has decently high expectations and needs to win right away, it's going to be much more difficult for Bol to get an opportunity out there, and and even if he did get an opportunity, he would need to play very well right away. If he made a couple mistakes, the Nuggets need to win every single game, so the coach is more likely to pull him out after one or maybe two mistakes. But on a team like the Orlando Magic, where winning isn't necessarily as much of a priority at this point, Bol can be out there and make a couple of mistakes and still stay out there in the court and learn from his mistakes and build upon that and go forward from there. And it just makes it a much easier situation for a young player like Bol to make some mistakes, make those adjustments, fix them, and get better as time does progress. Because it seemed like in Denver at least, although he was playing with a guy in Jokic that can teach him the ropes and teach him a lot of things offensively, he's a great offensive player of course, and although that is nice, I think it's much more important to get playing time out there and get that opportunity, and in Denver it was pretty clear that that wasn't happening for him. So honestly, I think it was a perfect situation that he did get drafted to Denver, because although he didn't get the opportunity, he did get to learn from a guy Nikola Jokic, and now with the Orlando Magic, he has that experience that he got from Denver, and he also now has a bigger opportunity with some NBA experience under his belt. So I do feel like this is a perfect time for him to go to a team like this. But with that being said, I feel like if Bol doesn't show anything going forward this season, for example, if he just falls off from here, I feel like this could be one of the last options that he has. I'm not necessarily saying that if he fails in Orlando, another team isn't going to sign him, because I'm sure they will, but I just feel like in terms of living up to those expectations or being anywhere close to it, I feel like this is the real last chance he has. But now the question is, what are my expectations for him going forward? Because as I mentioned before in the video, I do see Bol as an extremely talented player, and of course I do, but thus far he hasn't necessarily given me much excitement and much opportunity to be excited about him going forward. There are certain stretches where he shows great things, but he just hasn't been all that consistent with it. And of course that is something we see sometimes with young players that have a ton of talent. They show some flashes of greatness, but they can't be consistent with it, and unfortunately that has been an issue for Bol. But hopefully for his sake, he can go forward, build with the Orlando Magic, build with some of these younger guys on the team, and just be a little more consistent out there. If he can go the entire season, and let's say he averages anywhere from 8 to 12 points per game, I would be happy with that, because that would show improvement. And then if he stays with the Orlando Magic the season after that, if he gets a little bit better and a little bit better, a little bit better, and so on from there, now you're talking about a player that's building something and building confidence more so than anything else. And at that point, even if he doesn't fully live up to expectations, he would at the very least be a very valuable player to teams, due to the statistics that he's able to put up night in and night out, alongside with the fact that he's 7'2" and is as mobile as he is. Of course, a player of that archetype is always going to be valuable to NBA teams. So I certainly think there is a lot of upside going forward for Bol. It's just going to be a matter of wait and see for me personally. I certainly am hoping that he does live up to those expectations or gets anywhere close, or even at the very least just builds upon this season, but I guess only time will tell what does end up happening in the future. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Bol Bol could potentially live up to expectations going forward, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, check one of these two videos popping up now, and until the next time, peace out guys.